Good evening, everyone. Would you please rise and join us in a salute to the flag, and also in a moment of silence for Peter Schmidt, who passed away. Peter was involved in a number of things in town. Our recreation department, ran for Township committee. Good guy and died way too young. So, pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence for Peter Schmidt. Thank you. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws, 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2014 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2013, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Mr. Brownlee.
Here.
Mrs. Larrier.
Here.
Ms. Leventhal.
Here.
Mr. Ryan is absent. Mayor DeLuca.
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public, and whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting, and whereas it is the desire of this governing body to comply with the provisions of this act, and at the same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Maplewood that it does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to observation of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Ms. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca.
Yes. And also, our clerk is not here this evening, so Mr. Desiderio is our township attorney, township clerk tonight.
And I'll do the windows when I'm done.
Okay, so we have a light agenda. We are going to have a hearing on a proposal for our community development block grant program on milling and paving Van Ness Terrace. We're also going to have a presentation a little bit later from our Essex County surrogate, Theodore Stevens. We have an ordinance on final passage, which is the regulation of chlorofluorocarbons and halons. And we're going to have an introduction of a new ordinance to do 20-minute parking at on Maplewood Avenue at the 195 Maplewood Avenue, which is the site of the new post office. After that, we'll have our discussion items. We have one, and that's outside legal counsel. We have our consent agenda. We'll have our second public comment period, reports from administrative reports from elected officials, and then we will adjourn. On the consent agenda tonight, we have a firefighter resolution on extending the firefighter's deputy chief promotion list. We'll be appointing a director of Department of Public Works, appointing a municipal emergency management coordinator. We'll be approving bills and claims. We'll be closing a couple of contracts. We'll be authorizing demolition of 57 Maplewood Avenue, which was the site of a fire. We'll be authorizing the settlement of Sake River litigation. We have a contract for the purchase and installation of trees, and we will be designating a redeveloper for the post office site. And this is a technical issue.
Yeah, Yes, Mayor, you, at the last meeting, you designated JMF Properties as the redeveloper. As is typical in these situations, the redeveloper has formed a separate entity. In that regard, I think it's called Maplewood Redevelopers LLC, and they've asked that we amend the resolution to designate them as the redeveloper.
Okay, great, thank you. Then we'll also approve minutes of November 5th, and we're going to do the most important thing, and that's approve some taxi driver licenses. And if you get a ride to the airport, that's very important that they have their license to do that. So we're going to ask if anyone has, anyone would like to address the Township Committee. Seeing no one, literally no one, except for employees or soon-to-be employees. We'll close our first public comment, and we will move into item number 6, which is a hearing on milling and paving the entire street Van Ness Terrace.
Yes. Okay, we are required to have, I think, 2 hearings on this, and this is the first of the 2 hearings. This is an application that Maplewood is presenting for Community Development Block Grant 2015 funds, repaving Van Ness Terrace project. The proposed project calls for the construction of a new roadway pavement on the full length of Van Ness Terrace. The pavement course will consist of a mill and overlay in lieu of the more expensive reconstruction. No sidewalks will be repaired except for ADA-compliant ramps needed at intersections. New striping will be done. The project will begin in February 2015 and be completed by July 2015. The project's cost will be about $157,000. So if anyone has any questions about the project, they can ask now, or they can email us here at Town Hall through the engineer's office or call us, and they can come to the hearing at the next meeting if they want. Okay? And I'm going to pass around a sign-in sheet for everyone who is here.
Right.
Okay.
And does anyone, Township Committee, have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. So we'll close that public hearing, and there'll be another one on December 2nd. If anyone would like to come and express any of your opinion on that proposal. Okay, we're going to move to item number 8, and that is an ordinance on final passage. Mr. Desiderio.
Mayor, an ordinance to rescind Ordinance 1862-91 and Chapter 103 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood. This ordinance will eliminate the municipal regulation of chlorofluorocarbons and halons.
This ordinance...
I'm speechless also, Mayor.
No, I was just watching our engineer going out. I guess he's going to the Springfield Avenue because he's got his yellow jacket on there. This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this ordinance, which eliminates the regulations of chlorofluorocarbons and halons? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. And Ms. Leventhal, can we get a motion?
Mayor, I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Okay,
So I
it's
talk
been moved and
after.
said, yes, you're very good. Just offer a legal opinion soon. Ms. Leventhal, do you want to explain what we're doing?
Yes, chlorofluorocarbons and halons are controlled by, or the non-use of them is controlled by the federal government, and they are no longer manufactured. So this was an ordinance just sitting on our books. So we have one less ordinance in Maplewood, or we will.
Okay. Mr. Brownlee likes that, right? If we can't enforce them, get rid of them.
That's right.
Anyone else? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes,
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. We have an introduction of a new ordinance.
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance number 2763-14, An ordinance to amend Chapter 257 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Vehicles and Traffic. This ordinance will establish 20-minute parking on Maplewood Avenue in the area of 195 Maplewood Avenue, the new post office location, and create a limited-time loading zone on Maplewood Avenue in front of 195 Maplewood Avenue for post office delivery and pickup.
Can we get a motion, Ms. Leventhal?
Mr. Mayor, I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
No. Motion.
Its introduction. Right. Oh, last week, okay. I move passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on December 2nd, 2014.
Do you want to?
Second.
Oh, very good. Competing seconds. So this is preparation for the post office move. This will establish 20-minute parking for the 4 spots right in front of the post office, and in addition, will create a limited time loading zone in 2 of those spots, Monday through Friday and also on Saturday. And this is so that we can get the cars in and out of there to utilize the post office. Please call the roll.
Public hearing?
No, this is on
Introduction, I'm sorry. Let me just add one thing, Mayor. Ms. Larrier actually reminded me earlier, we did the last time, this didn't go forward for 2 reasons. One was the issue of the Saturday to change the loading zone from 3 to 4 on a Saturday, and the second was the issue of possible handicap parking. I have spoken to Mr. Malavasi about that, and he is looking at that. There may very well be a recommendation for handicap parking in that area, but it would not affect these spaces, so that's why it's not included in this particular ordinance. Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. We have one discussion item, and that is our attorney clerk will raise it this evening. Outside legal counsel.
Yes, Mayor. It's coming up to the new year, and generally not generally, but we have always engaged outside counsel on a year-to-year basis. I brought this attention to the governing body because we have a legal team. Our labor counsel, well, our bond counsel is McManaman, Scotland, and Bauman. Mr. McManaman is one of the foremost bond counsels in the state of New Jersey. Labor counsel is Genova, Burns, and Gian Tomasi. Affordable Housing, who are very competent. Affordable Housing is Jeff Ceridian, who may very well be the foremost attorney on affordable housing. I think he's told me that several times. Redevelopment Counsel is McManaman, Scotland, and Bauman, and General Litigation and Tax Appeals is my firm, Bendit Weinstock. It's my recommendation that we go forward and reappoint those counsel at no fee increases to the township. I think they've done a very good job. They're all very competent. Many of them are involved in ongoing projects. So I'd like your authorization to move forward with getting engagement letters for them for the year 2015.
Mrs. Larrier?
I am moving that.
A second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, so let's call the roll on getting engagement letters with the outside counsels that you listed.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Ms. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Manning, we have item 216-14 on the consent agenda. That's appointing Director of the Department of Public Works. Would you like to introduce the gentleman
Yes,
who's here?
it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Calvin Bell of Maplewood, New Jersey, local person, who is currently working in Public Works, another township, and who we have interviewed, vetted, and we're in the process of tidying up the things that he has to do before he can come on board. We expect him to come on December the 8th, and I'll ask him just to come up and say hello to the public so they can see him. If you wouldn't mind, to the podium, Mr. Calvin Bell.
Thank you for having me. Well, I thank you, Mr. Mayor, the council, the BA, for giving me the opportunity. I know I have a daunting task ahead of me, but I look forward to the challenge.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Congratulations.
You want to address that resolution, Mayor? 216-14?
You want to do it separately? Sure. Okay. Let's get a motion on 216-14.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Ms. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, congratulations. Okay, can we get a motion on the balance of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Actually, I was going to ask if item number 10, I'm not sure if I want to ask if it could be pulled from the consent agenda as well and dealt with at a later point.
Are there corrections?
Well, there's nothing, I said more than a couple words, and there's no words of mine in there.
We're going to pull the November 5th
Minutes,
meeting minutes.
yes.
Okay. Can you,
None of my remarks are included, so.
okay. So we need to correct those, and, can we get a motion on the consent agenda with item number 10 pulled?
So moved.
I snuck in and erased them.
And are you seconding it?
Second.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Ms. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Manning, would you make a note to mention that to Ms. Richardson, please?
Yeah, I have, yes.
Thank you.
I will.
Okay. This is our second public comment period. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee? No one appears?
I have a question.
Yes.
On our agenda, we have the gentleman from the,
8:15.
might be done by then.
Well, we have to wait.
Okay.
Administrative reports, Mr. Manning?
Nothing to report. Any
Okay.
questions?
I'll take up the slack.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Manning? Okay. Mr. Desiderio?
I have 5 items, Mayor. Ms. Larry once ago, but the first is you passed a resolution tonight approving a settlement with the Township's insurance carriers. I'm going to ask that release be signed before I leave tonight. This is hopefully the end of a long and tortuous situation. The Township is going to receive the sum of $159,000 from its insurance carriers. That includes the $95,000 in terms of the settlement and $64,000 towards outside expenses. There was a special master, there was outside legal fees, et cetera. So while the Township is certainly not made whole, there was still some loss to the Township. It's reduced by $159,000. So I think all in all, we did okay in that situation. And we reserved our rights to go back at the insurance carriers in the event that there's another lawsuit by the EPA. So, the only disappointment in all of this seems to be that the money's not being used to clean up the river, but that's a whole separate issue. My second item is you received a copy of a memo from the Planning Board where they approved the SID amendments to the ordinance. I also received today, I believe it was, from the Executive Director of the SIDs, the markup of the amendments. My question is, do you want to move forward with those? That's my first question. So let me let you answer that.
Yeah, so the Planning Board looked at this and really was waiting for the Township Committee to introduce it on first reading before they give it official. This is an unofficial. To give an official approval or recommendation. And so I would say that we ought to introduce it. This has gone through the Code Enforcement Committee. The way we worked it is it went through the Code Enforcement Committee, then we brought it here, we sent it right to the Planning Board. Right. Julie Doran was at the Planning Board meeting, there was some give and take. There are a few minor changes and some formatting changes from when we first saw it, but it's essentially the same. And I would recommend we introduce it on December 2nd, send it back to the Planning Board for its meeting on the 9th.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can get it done for the 2nd. I'll do my best.
All right.
If I can't, then it's going to have to go off till January because we can't introduce on the introduce on the 16th.
Right. Okay, so if possible, we'd like to get it done on the 2nd.
I will try to get it done. It may be as easy as just fitting it in and doing it, but if not, I just want to make sure that it's correct, so I'll do my best.
Okay.
Okay?
And you got the electronic copy from Julie Doran, right?
I got the color-coded copy today, yes, the most recent one, where she incorporated the planning board suggestions.
Right, okay.
All right?
Everybody's
And
okay with that?
And Mayor, the planning board will have a December meeting, so if we go through the work of getting it introduced on the 2nd, it'll be ready for the 17th, 16th for final?
I believe so.
Okay,
That's the plan.
okay. All right, I will do my best.
Okay.
Okay. My next item is, I received a request from Singleton of the Code Enforcement Department with Mr. Mittermeier's okay. And basically, there is a provision in the Property Maintenance Code which says, all vacant structures and premises thereof, or vacant land shall be maintained in a clean, safe, and secure sanitary condition as provided here, and so as not to cause a blighting problem or adversely affect the public health or safety. The word vacant creates a problem for the code enforcement people, because if the property is not vacant, there is some issue as to whether it applies to non-vacant properties where people are not maintaining their property. So what they would like to do, just by way of it, the Property Maintenance Code has been adopted as a whole, subject to modifications. So if you were to look at the code book, you would see modifications to this that were adopted. What they're asking for is a modification to this to take out the word vacant, so that it applies to all properties. So it would say all structures and premises thereof and all land shall be maintained in a clean and orderly fashion. So what they're basically doing is trying to tighten it up so that they can go to people who live on property and who are not maintaining them and still use this for purposes of enforcement. So I told them I would bring it to your attention. I don't know if it's been the Code Enforcement Committee or anything else. I don't know if that's what you want, but I told them that I would bring it to the governing body to see if you would allow me to move forward with an ordinance.
I think in Code Enforcement Committee, we've been pretty consistent on wanting to get
I
both
understand.
vacant and occupied units or properties maintained. So you don't think there's any need to go back to code?
To go back to code, no, I thought that was what we were
Yeah.
hoping for.
Okay,
actually.
so that's,
Okay. So
Okay.
let's move ahead with that. Yeah.
Actually, I think that's why he reached out to you.
okay, I didn't know what the genesis of it was, but I just want to give you that. Okay. Mayor, you actually asked me about the post office resolution and why there was a change with regard to redevelopers, so we've addressed that one. The last one I have is that I did get an email today from the prosecutor on the issue of apparently the person at Abel Baker's employee got another summons, and you had considered the issue of making some adjustment to overnight parking. That went off. I know that the Director of Public Works, the outgoing Director of Public Works, had raised an issue with regard to snow plowing, which may be the issue for the new Director of Public Works. So I just don't know what, if anything, you want me to do, and I don't know what the status of it is. That's all. I'm just bringing it to your attention.
Yeah, so what we talked about at Planning and Engineering was to designate the spots on Maplewood Avenue that are further south than Lenox. These are along the railroad tracks. Currently, there's no parking at all from 6 to 9. So we would allow parking there, an overlay parking with a merchant permit only in that area, starting at 4:30.
Okay. But I need, if I'm going to do an ordinance, I need Mr. Malavasi to give me the particulars.
Right.
Okay?
If you can get that, and we can put that in at the next, maybe we can get that in before January 1st.
Right.
We were going to add for the snow removal, we were going to, when,
Because that was Mr.
No, I
Burbank's.
think what we're going to do is, because it's going to be in that one area,
Yeah,
they're going to hit that area first.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you quite. It wasn't clear.
Because we know it's going to be in that one area only, that they'll be able to park at 4:30, they're going to hit that area for snow removal prior to hitting the other areas further down. So they'll get that first.
No,
And
there's
cleaning.
there's no,
Yes.
Right, okay.
And and cleaning, yes.
and there's no, and that's the outgoing Department of Public Works person that doesn't introduce any logistical dilemmas
Well,
to go in that direction, order, I should say. They're okay, he's okay with that? Okay.
Yeah, in fact, as long as it's in one area, and, because initially I think it could have been any area that had a merchant permit signed. So I spoke to Julie Doran this week about it, explained what we were doing. She thought it made sense, and this way, in case of either leaf pickup or snow plowing or street sweeping, they could do that before.
Oh, no, again, I know it's fine from that. I just want to make sure they didn't introduce anything from the Department of Public Workers director's perspective in terms of the trucks having to go there first.
No.
You know, and if he's okay with it, I'm fine with
Yeah,
it.
he was okay with it.
Okay.
Okay, so we'd have to just get the distance.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty simple, because there's probably an ordinance already. It just has to be changed. But
And just to refresh my recollection for it, when I originally drafted this, we said, notwithstanding the foregoing, no vehicle shall be parked on Denell Road from Oakview to Baker between the hours of 2 and 4:30.
Right.
Okay? And then the merchant parking was 2 to 4. Is that incorrect now? Is it
No,
going to be
that's correct.
2 to 4, right? Okay. So it's just a question of the location of where that's going to be. Okay,
Right.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, because the 4:30 was for the 5 o'clock train,
Right.
and the 4 o'clock was for the baking that takes an hour to open up at 5 o'clock,
Right. Okay.
whatever time they open up.
That's all I have, Mayor. I'm doing my best, but Mr.
You're
Stevens.
doing did you want to give a report for Ms. Fritzen?
Oh, Ms. Fritchen told me she has no report.
Okay, all right. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Desiderio in either of his capacities? Reports from elected officials. Mrs. Larrier,
No report, Mayor.
Brownlee,
I have no report.
Ms. Leventhal.
No report.
Oh, my goodness. Write that down, please. Okay. I have a bunch of things. First off,
Figures.
this Thursday night, there is, the Hilton Neighborhood Association is having an appreciation night for Eric Burbank, 7:30 at the Community Center at DeHart Park. I'm also going to be talking about Maplewood, what's ahead. I have to figure that out before Thursday. But it'll be nice, a nice goodbye to Eric. He was, he'll have a few people will be saying goodbye to him, but he was very involved in the Neighborhood Association, so he'll be there for that. I just wanted to, is somebody buzzing? Okay. I just want to make sure that it wasn't Eric
my
telling, okay.
No.
We had a very nice Veterans Day ceremony. Mr. Brownlee and I were here. That was on November 11th, and it was very moving. We had quite a number of veterans come out that evening, so it was a really good thing that we did. And I want to just congratulate Ms. Fritzen again for her work.
Thank you.
on your behalf. I have some good news. We actually have a letter, a real letter that says that the post office construction at 195 Maplewood Avenue will start in mid-November, 2014 even. So they're moving ahead.
That was yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. So they may have started. I don't think they've started
That
yet.
gives them 90 days. I mean,
Yeah.
That's not crazy.
No, I think it'll be fine. They did. They are, as a courtesy, giving our building department the opportunity to look at the construction documents. And that is all I have for this evening. We still do not have our speakers, so what I'm going to suggest is that we adjourn, and then when our speaker comes, we'll come back in session, and we'll be able to listen to our surrogate, He's going to wreck the record here. This could have been a record since we started late and ending early, but... You're perfect. Perfect timing.
You're up.
We were just about to adjourn for, wait for you, so we don't have to do that now. Yeah, so that's fine.
Sir,
That's fine.
didn't expect
So
that.
take your time. Take your time.
No, we're just.
So now I'd like to, we have an annual presentation from the Honorable Theodore N. Stevens II, our Essex County Surrogate.
Thank you so much, Mayor and members of council. It's my pleasure to end council and help and member of the public. It's always a pleasure to come to Maplewood. You know, this is certainly one of my favorite towns. My law office is located in Maplewood, so I have been coming here for years. And it was, frankly, for a kid who grew up in East Orange, New Jersey, I knew so little about this great town, especially the downtown area. So it's been my pleasure to have my office here for this period of time. 3 years ago, I was elected the Essex County Surrogate, and after serving on the municipal bench for a number of years. And I quickly learned while campaigning for office that so few people knew what the Surrogates Court really did. In fact, recently, that was brought to light. About 2 weeks ago, there was an article in the Sunday Ledger that talked about some important but perhaps not as well-known county positions. They talked about the freeholders, the county clerk, and of course the Surrogates Court. Now, as everybody here knows, but others, maybe someone here does not know, the surrogate is a judge, the only elected judge in the state. We handle primarily the probate of will estates, the administration of non-will estates. We also handle the important functions of adoption applications. In fact, we just participated with National Adoption Day last Friday, and Essex County, of course, has more adoptions than any other county in the state. Also, we handle the administration of about $36 million in minors' trust funds and the growing, increasingly important aspect of guardianships. And it's not surprising with the graying of America that more individuals are applying for a guardianship, which is a court case. I mean, a guardianship is the filing of an order to show cause, a verified complaint. Testimony is taken on occasion. You certainly need 2 doctors to certify that the alleged incompetent is in need of a guardianship. It will take several months and several thousands of dollars to get to that point. And it's a shame in many cases because that guardianship can be avoided in many cases if the individual, while mentally appropriate, while competent, had given their power of attorney to their person. And a power of attorney, as you all know, is a much more inexpensive document. The person chooses exactly who they want to help with their estate, as opposed to a person applying and then being qualified by the court, just as in a will. And it's every reason to pick the person you want to leave your assets to and who you want to administer your estate, as opposed to dealing with the estate plan, the statute, which means it must be a blood relative. So if anybody wanted to live, for instance, wanted to leave anything to a non-blood relative, someone who they're living with, a close friend, the only way to do that is with a will, unless you do some other pre-estate sorts of things in terms of joint ownership. So while dealing with the important things we do in the court, it also became very evident to me that I needed to come out to talk to council, to talk to various civic groups about what we do and about some estate planning in order to make appearances to the Surrogates Court easier, perhaps not necessary at all, but certainly to let people know that estate planning is not just for the wealthy, it's for everyone who really cares about their assets going forward. So it's been my pleasure to serve as surrogate for 3 years. It's always a pleasure to come to Maplewood. You guys do a great job. I love the festivals that you guys have, and your 4th of July rivals anything in the county. And so it's been a real pleasure to be of service, and I'm available for any questions if you have any, Mayor, Council.
So what has been your most challenging case in the 3 years that you've had here?
My most challenging case, probably, lately we've had a couple of challenging cases dealing with individuals who certainly died in another country, with a question as to whether or not that was their domicile, the place where they lived. As you know, you can have many residences, but you only have one domicile, your main place of where you resided. And contrary to popular opinion, your estate is determined not at the place you died, but the place where you lived, your domicile. So the first issue was determining what the domicile was. And so you look at everything, the usual things, your voting record, if there are kids, where they went to school, all those sorts of things to try to determine domicile. But even after that, there still is a question of real estate that may have been located here in Essex County. So you must do something called an ancillary probate if they did in fact do a probate in Japan, for instance. And so then I get that challenge of that document, which has been translated, and so I've got to deal with that back and forth, and an individual who may or may not want to come back to the country, but they can't really get it handled unless they do come back. So there have been some very vexing problems involving some very substantial real estate located here in Essex County that we're still working through.
Anyone else have any questions? Well, we want to thank you.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
for coming out, and thank you for being, putting a public face on your position. I think many people didn't know, as you said, didn't know what or who the surrogate was before you, so.
Well, I appreciate that, Mayor. $64,000 question for me is how's the leg doing?
It's doing good.
Excellent.
The hip is shot, but the leg is good.
Well, one out
Yeah,
of two
one-
ain't
I'm getting-
bad,
I'm going
you
from
know?
one leg to the other.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to see you.
Yep.
I would like to thank you also. I will say that myself, I was a guardian for a relative and did have to go through the surrogate's office, and at no point, aside from the person in the office that I was dealing with, knew really surrogate was or what he did. So thank you very much.
My pleasure, and I hope everything worked out.
Deceased now, but yes, it did. Thank
By
you.
that time. So if in fact that we can ever be of service to any of your constituents, please let us know, because with a little not approval, but certainly a little warning that they're coming in, we can be available, have someone waiting for them. Also to let you know, and I didn't say, upon taking over the surrogate position, we did a couple of changes. We have extended hours, which I've talked about previously, where on the second and fourth Wednesday of every month that an individual can be seen with an appointment. Normally, you don't need an appointment to come into the surrogate's court, but you can get an appointment during on those occasions, and a person can be seen at a time certain. They don't have to take time off of work, and they get the added benefit, which we find I think the main reason it's successful is probably the only time you can come and get free parking in the city of Newark, because the employee lot is open. And so so you can get that added benefit as well. We also have a very robust website. I just mentioned it's www.essexsurrogate.com, which has been helpful. And also, almost neglected to mention that we are going to open up a satellite office up at the Cody Arena. There is a education building, either at the education building or at the satellite office that's there. The sheriff's office mans it all the time. There's plenty of parking, internet, so we're going to be there also on a couple occasions during the daytime during a month. So that will unveil after the first of the year. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll be back here on December 2nd. Have a good night.